My partner of 3 years cheated on me. We decided to work it out. A month later, I came home from work early to them moving her things out of our apartment. Posted by Reddit user DellDriver Not Comped. My best friend and partner for around 3 years cheated on me. Again. Sorry for the long story. I'm hurting very terribly as some of this just happened a couple days ago. I want to give a little background on our relationship. We were open during both of these events, but as long as we talked about it, it was okay to go on dates with other people as long as we met each other's needs. Not a single time through our relationship did she choose to take advantage of the open relationship by telling me about her feelings. She chose to do it behind my back instead. As well as I never found someone I wanted to sleep with or spend time with aside from her romantically, so I never really thought about pursuing someone else. The first time it happened, we were on a road trip, and I drove her about 12 hours to see her friend. We drank a bit, and he followed her into the bathroom, and so I thought he was just going into his room. Otherwise, I would never have let that happen. But anyways, they kissed. I was pissed, but I was willing to work on the relationship and let the kiss be just that. We lived more than a 12-hour drive away. She deleted his number and blocked it, and cried and apologized to me profusely. I was able to gain trust back in her for a long while. That was about a year and a half ago. We went on a longer road trip and camped for the most part, and we were in a crossover with a pop-up tent. Not a lot of room for space. Near the end of the trip, she wanted to break it off, but we talked it out and she ended up crying and apologizing to me again for wanting to leave. And she clung to me for the next few months after our trip. A few months later, we both felt very happy in the relationship in my opinion. The road trip ruined my car, so we were sharing hers. She was having hormonal issues and went to see a gynecologist and had a hormone panel done and found that she has some sort of major hormonal disorder, potentially caused by her stopping taking birth control. We worked through some stuff and learned how to communicate better when she was feeling down, and she was continuously showing interest in me, calling me to hang out and coming to visit me at least 5 days a week. Sometimes I even stayed at her parents' place. She eventually decided to ask me if I wanted to move in together somewhere. Without giving away the location, we moved to my favorite place. It was my favorite before and after our long trip, and she loved it too. We moved here about 3 to 4 months ago. She had started hanging out and talking with this guy from her second job, a little too much. And since we had been sharing a car, one day she forgot to pick me up and ditched class for him. I didn't get mad at her. She told me his name and that they were just friends. So I dropped it. I fully 100% trusted her. But I told her I wanted to meet her friends if she was going to spend so much time with them. I never got to meet him, except for the following ways. A few weeks later, I went on a hike with the car, and she was going to walk home. Well, she forgot her keys, and I had locked all the windows at the time because we were having some issues with the homeless population. Before she left for work, I made sure to ask her if she had my keys so she could get in the apartment. Well, my hike took way longer than I thought, and when I came down, I got a text from her saying she was locked out and upset. She had been out there for 7 or 8 hours by now. She said she wanted to have a smoke up at one of our favorite overlooks within walking distance from the apartment. I called her to make sure she was okay, and she said she was hanging out with a friend. When I told her I loved her on the phone and said that I'd see her soon, she said okay and hung up the phone. I absolutely knew something was up, so I drove down from my hike and I drove to the overlook. I caught them there, hugging and kissing each other. I regret some of the following things I did. I started yelling at her, didn't say a thing to him. A few minutes later, we got in the car and we drove off. I drove a little erratically and I scared her for a bit. Not on purpose, I was just upset, but because of that, and she wasn't talking to me, I kept driving until she started talking to me. She told me she wasn't happy, and I have been previously asking her almost every day how she was doing and if there was anything I needed to work on or anything I could do to make her happy. We're stuck in this lease for another 8 or 9 months, and I told her if she was unhappy and she wanted to leave, that this wasn't the way to do it. She said she would work on it and go talk to a therapist about what she actually needs and wants. I said I'd do the same, so I could work on myself and potentially gain her trust back. We drove back home, safe and sound. A few weeks go by of us trying to work it out. I actually thought we were doing really well compared to previously. I was happy before she cheated on me. But we had quite a bit more intimacy, and she planned more cute, fun dates for us. She was telling me she loved me in the morning more, and we were solving our problems more healthy. I decided, however, that us working it out until the end of the month wasn't working for me. It was like walking on eggshells. I told her that if she was planning on leaving at the end of the month, then she should leave now. That way, she was being honest with me. And I told her that it was putting a lot of pressure on me, and that our relationship has been long enough that I think it's worth way more than a month of trying, and that therapy would take longer than the rest of the month. She said she didn't want to leave, and that we would remove the end of the month timeline on our relationship. She never went to therapy, however. It got quite a bit better after her parents visited us from quite a distance away, and they were talking about coming up for next Thanksgiving and visiting us, and we could stay in a condo. They were making future plans with us being together. That was last week. We went on quite a few really nice dates after they left, some to hot springs, to a pumpkin patch, and she took me out for sushi. On the way to one of our dates, I noticed her deleting some text messages and texting a number I didn't recognize. I asked her about it. She said she was looking for a trailer to put in the back of her car so we could finish the rest of our road trip that we didn't get to finish since we no longer had the pop-up tent. I checked the trailer post online and the number didn't match. She told me sorry that it looked shady. She just didn't want to tell me until she figured out she wanted to buy it. She wanted it to be a surprise and told me she would tell me the next time because she didn't want me to think she was being shady. She was trying to do something for us in our future. I was ecstatic. While we were getting sushi on a different day, we were talking about how we could be better for each other. We talked about future plans and had a wonderful night. She took me to work the next morning. We talked about growing our trust and what would be a good way for me to work on trusting her more. And she said she'd think about it and that she loved me and she would see me after work. Well, I got to come home early because something happened at work, so they didn't need me the rest of the day. They didn't text me back or answer the phone when I called to pick me up, so I walked home. I showed up and she was at the apartment with the guy she cheated on me with, loading up a U-Haul with all her stuff. I didn't fight to argue. I just wanted to talk to her. I didn't try to get her to stay. I couldn't even talk to her. The guy was like a bodyguard thinking I will hurt her, but I've never do that. He got in the way of every conversation I could have to get some closure. She left me a note and told me goodbye and drove away. This happened 2 days ago. I don't even have a choice whether or not I want to work on the relationship anymore. I love her so much, and I hope that she does something wonderful with her life. I feel so betrayed. I can't believe she's gone. It's like being in a terrible dream, and I can't wake up from it. And each day, I expect her to still be there. Anyone who took the time to read this whole thing, I really appreciate your time. I hope you're doing well on your journey to be happy with whatever you choose to do. Okay, so let's sum this up a little bit, OP. Despite being in an open relationship, she continuously broke your trust, disrespected your boundaries, continuously lied to you, and cheated on you multiple times, and you still stayed with her. I'm sorry, OP. As much as I want to feel sorry for you, as much as I want to feel sympathy, I guess you had this coming. You should have realized that she was gonna do this to you over and over again, from the moment she did it the first time. And yet you still stayed, trying to work things out, but expecting different results. I'm sorry to say this, OP, but you really need to grow a spine. And for the love of God, please, when she comes crawling back, asking for forgiveness, begging to reconcile, Please, please don't take her back. Good luck, OP. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you even somewhat enjoyed today's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. And if you really like it, make sure to subscribe to Patson to never miss a future upload. Stay strong.